Hello folks! Oh yeah! Weekend again. And we're in Slinky, the SLK. Because it's it's about time he was introduced to the channel. In about, well, a month's time, we would have had him 4.5 years. And touch wood, not really outgone wrong. Mechanically, nothing. When we got him, we sort of got him as a project anyway, like all my vehicles happen to be. But a mate of mine fully serviced it, the gearbox service, because the gearbox was a little bit slow. He did all that, changed the filters in the gearbox, did the engine, and it's been absolutely pucker ever since. I love driving it, I really do, but the same as anything else, if you're driving something regularly, like as a daily, as this has been for, well, since about July of last year, they can start to feel a bit slow, you know, and stuff like that. And it's psychological completely, because after tooling around in the Rover 75, which, I mean, it's not a slow car. I mean, people say, oh, it's a slow diesel, but you know, it gets up to speed quicker than what you think. And if you put your boot in it, it doesn't hang around. It just looks like an old man's yacht doing it. Speaking of old man's yachts, yes, okay. In 1989, a lot of car manufacturers got a boot up the arse in the shape of the MX-5, or Eunice as it was known in Japan, and Miata as it was known in the States. As far as little convertibles sort of on the market at the time in Europe, we didn't have a massive amount of choice. There was the Alfa Spider, which had just gone through another facelift, Fiat Barchetta, and that was really about it. There wasn't a massive choice for two-seaters. If you wanted a four-seater convertible and stuff, there was a few knocking around, obviously, because everybody at the time seemed to do a convertible version of the saloon, the two-door versions. So there was a gap in the market, obviously, because in the first year the MX-5 sold 100,000 units or thereabout, which is pretty unheard of. I mean, those are sales figures that today would be brilliant. Back then were astonishing. So of course, people like Mercedes and all that lot, BMW, Porsche, all realised there was a very viable hole in the market, that an affordable sports car a lot of people wanted. The first clay models of the SLK were actually made in 1990. That's a whole 6 years before it actually came to market, and there were a lot of design proposals, but of course only the final proposals go to clay model, so that was 1990. The SL, of course, had been around for decades, and they tended to be big barges, heavy things, light for a Mercedes but heavy nonetheless, not small engines, and they even had a V12. Also, that design hadn't changed for about 10 years, so it was time for a new car, a more accessible car, and Mercedes wanted the qualities of the SL but for a more youthful audience. Just get past our cycling brethren. So a proposal for the SLK was put forward. The board liked the idea and green-lighted it. Now SL, as I say, had been around for ages, but the V12 was getting very, very close to the price point of a Rolls-Royce. And to be honest, if you had Rolls-Royce money, you would have bought a Rolls-Royce. I would have. Nothing wrong with the SL. But it was a big old land yacht, as Mercs were at the time, as a lot of cars were. When this came out, I think it was about, this is the 230 SLK, which is the 2.3 supercharged, Eaton supercharger. I think they were about £27,000 when they first launched in '96. Mercedes were a bit funny with prices at the time, because almost everything was an option on the launch cars. The air conditioning, the radio, leather, all that was all an option. And then funnily enough, it was like when the 230 came out and the later 320 came out, a lot of options became standard and the prices went up accordingly. And I think by the time the facelift models came out, this was about 29,500. But I mean, on the launch cars, air conditioning was about £1,400. You know, radios were an option and stuff like that. A lot of people knock the SLK, and I don't think it's fair. You've probably read or watched videos about the early cars with manual gearboxes, etc. And yes, Mercedes manual gearboxes were not good at the time. They really belonged in a tractor. So they basically, the SLK, CLK, all that range, all shared engines and gearboxes. So when they developed this gearbox, which is a 5-speed, I think it's a Getrag, I'm not sure, I'll have to look that up and I'll bleep it. But it was a vast improvement on the earlier automatics and a vast improvement on the manual. To be honest, this was not built to be a pure sports car. It was built to be a more youthful Mercedes, which was still a boulevard cruiser at the end of the day. It didn't have sporting aspirations. It was never built for that. Like the MX-5, the MX-5 was sort of meant to be a homage to the MGB. It was meant to hark back to the 1960s for the purity of open-top motoring. So MX-5s, in comparison to the SLK, were always a little bit rough and ready. They certainly weren't finished as well, and I've owned them. And it was just, it wasn't trying to be a Mercedes, and the MX-5 wasn't trying to be very high quality either. But with the SLK, you got, at least in the inside and the build quality, you did get Mercedes levels of quality, and this rides like a Mercedes. It's very, very quiet with the roof up. There's little or no buffeting with the roof down, but I did notice my MGF, when that had the roof down and the windbreaker up, that was better. The MX-5 was no better or worse than any of them. But I'm admittedly not a massive fan of the MX-5 anyway. I just think it's overrated. The MX-5 to me is when you watch a trailer for a movie and you're gagging for it to come out and you go, yeah, this is brilliant and I really want to see this film. And then you go and sit through the film after you've just had a mortgage to get your cinema food and all that lot. And every single good bit in the film was in the 2.5-minute trailer. And then you have to sit through 2 hours of crap in between. The MX-5 to me was a lot like that. I'd read lots of reviews like everybody else, and I adore the Mark 1. I just think it's one of the best car designs ever. It's a car you could fall in love with. It's a car you could give a character to. But the Mark II MX-5, just like the SLKs that followed this one, this is an R170. They started to get a bit fat. They started to round things off a bit, and they weren't the same cars. So I am no fan of later MX-5s. And now I think they've completely lost the plot. I'm on the Foss Way, by the way, because I'm going down to our mansion in Oxfordshire. So back to the SLK. This one is fitted with the 230 Supercharged, and it's an inline 4. I say inline, it's longitude. I can never say it, you know what I mean. It goes that way under the power barn, not that way. Longitudinal. Yeah, we'll get there. So it sits there, whops it through the gearbox, whops it up to the rear diff. It's got very basic traction control, but it has quite, for the time, clever ABS and stability. If you go around a corner too fast in one of these, it will pull you back into the apex of the corner. It will break the inner wheels basically, and it will tighten up the steering and everything for you. You need to be pushing on a bit for it to do that, because believe it or not, of course you get hairdresser jokes in these cars, as you did in the MX-5, you do in the MG, you do in an Audi TT. Ha ha, see, it's like Rover head gasket jokes, you know, they're going to appear eventually. But these things will knock on. When I used to test up at Bruntingthorpe, which I used to do quite regularly, I've not been for a little while, there was always an opportunity in the morning to check the circuit to make sure it was suitable for that day's testing. And quite often I took the MX-5 down it, and I think it only managed about 130, 135, and it was asthmatic doing it. Did not feel like a fast car at all. The handling felt a touch flighty. Obviously, as more air's getting under it, I don't know, maybe the aerodynamics don't help. But you see, these things they're not meant to be going along at 130 miles an hour all the time. But when I took the SLK up, and there was an event on at the time, we had it timed, and we did a timed run down the runway, and you called it the motorway then, down the runway, and it did 144.3, and that was through timing lights. So, you know, quite happy with that. It's got 160 mile an hour speedometer, so you know it's not lying all that much. You know, you can impress small children with it. And the USA cars had 160 mile an hour speedometer as well. Would I recommend buying one? An unreserved yes. It's a little gem. It is a very well kept secret. The only thing you've got to watch, this is a 2001 model, which is a facelift. Originals were not, it's like 96. I think they remodeled in 2000. And they basically they tidied up the front end, changed the interior slightly, just made it a bit more user friendly. The only thing you've got to watch in this year is rust, same as a Japanese car. God, that MX-5 only had to smell a puddle and bits would fall off. And I've had 200 SXs and stuff like that, they were exactly the same, you know. So you always see this argument when you see like the battle of the small convertibles, which conversely the SLK never appears in. And it's probably, and yeah, I'm biased, but I have owned all the others pretty much. It's the best of the bunch. Unless you're going up a tier, which of course was the Porsche Boxster, which was announced at about the same time that the SLK was announced. So Mercedes knew they'd got competition coming. Of course, the rebirth of MG with the MGF, superb car, stuff like that. You know, everybody started to bring out two-seater convertibles, and they all sold. And of course, you're going to be faithful to one. But you know, there's people that are just obscenely faithful to one mark, and they never try anything else. Everything else is garbage, and you need to punch these people in the face because they're bigots. It's like, oh, you don't want to buy that motorbike because it's fucking crap. You don't want to buy this because it's for gays, or anything like that. We've all heard the arguments, and they're all just based on rubbish. These are people that have never even ridden or driven anything else. I mean, I know people that have only ever owned Honda, or only ever owned Kawasaki, or they've only ever driven BMWs or stuff like that. You know, they blank refuse to sort of acknowledge there's anything else worthy on the road, which is fine. You know, some people are like that, but there are other open-minded people like us, and you know, we give things a chance. Like I say, I've owned MX-5s and MGFs, all that jazz, and to be quite honest, the SLK It's the one that's lasted the longest, or have kept the longest. It's the one I've definitely enjoyed the most. Compared to the other two, can be a little bit impractical because you lose pretty much half the boot space when you put the roof down. Of course, the Vario deck roof was a big selling point as well. It was the first mass production tin top that folded. And of course, every man and his dog does it now because it's such a good idea. But every time another manufacturer, brings one out, they think it's new and nobody's ever done it before, and that's not the case. I mean, I believe that there were folding tin tops in America way before we had them. I think some of the big land yachts had them. They certainly had big power roofs, and I'm pretty sure some of them were tin tops. Might be wrong. You can tell me in the comments. In fact, I'm sure Rob will tell me. So it's one of those things. Yes, I am biased, but we keep it for a reason. We bought it as a project. We've had some of the bodywork done. The bodywork's sort of a constant thing. You've got to keep on it. And we've had the wheels refurbished. Obviously, it's been kept serviced, but these are really easy to service. So, I've done the engine services. Like I say, because they're easy. And it's been magnificent. I mean, it's took us. We bought it really so we could just explore Scotland and stuff like that. Just get the roof down while we're up there, and just see all the scenery. And the great thing about a convertible is you've got a million miles of headroom, and it never gets dull. I mean, usually I'm heading in for some stormy weather by the looks of it, but usually if it's not raining, the roof's down, unless it's a blisteringly hot day, and then it's actually worse to have the roof down. Oh yeah, come this way, and I forgot there's a diversion. If you ever come down the Foss, you'll know that Bretford Bridge is actually closed at the moment. It used to be called Kitty Corner by Mrs. Shed because there was a bus station there, a little bus shelter station. Just calm down, boy. A little bus shelter there that had a like Japanese cat spray painted on the side of it. It was a wicked bit of graffiti. It was those parts of graffiti that was artistic and not vandalistic, if you see what I mean. I know, yes, it's the same, but some graffiti is actually beautiful. So anyway, that's what it were. But that bridge is closed. So we're now on a diversion, which I think will kick us out on probably the A46, which is fine. It's fine because we'll get to where we're going anyway, so it doesn't matter. So where were we? Oh, we were sitting in an SLK, weren't we? So yeah, we bought it to do Scotland and all that lot, which it's done several times, and it does it with ease because it's got cruise control, which we've never had in an MX-5. I don't think it was ever fitted to MGFs. In fact, MX-5 really, for the equipment level that you used to get in them, they were pretty bum basic. I can remember at one point where I'm sure it was only Japanese home market models had like air conditioning, walnut trim and stuff like that. And to be honest, they're the versions I'd probably go for. I'd like a Mark 1 MX-5. I just think they're fantastic. It's just one of them things. I quite like the firsts of everything because they were the purest usually. So the first MX-5s I adore, I really adore. I think the pop-up headlights are just fantastic. You could put pop-up headlights on a Reliant Robin and I would have bought one. And I miss pop-up headlights, I used to love them on my SX. But it was, like I say, it's just all subsequent models just seem to lose the plot a bit. Oh yes, it's better and it's improved, but there was nothing wrong with the first one. It's one of them. So yeah, I would have a Mark 1 MX-5, but as for all the rest, no. And they're too fat and heavy now. Like the SLKs, they just went fat, they went heavy, they went more luxurious, which is, it's fair enough, it's a Merc, it's what you expect. But I just like this one because I get all the joy of the MGF out of it, but I've got comforts like cruise control. I've got a big lazy engine, well, big for Europe, obviously not very big for the States, but they did actually do these. there were 5 made by Brabus, which used the AMG V8. Only 5 built, I do believe. All left-hand drive, all sold in Germany. Obviously later models, they had a V8 in the lineup anyway. So there'd be, yeah, I could consider one of them. Here we are, another cyclist friend, not using a cycle path. See, I don't know about you, but I think if cyclists are provided with a cycle path, but they then insist on cycling on a main road and basically putting themselves in danger and forcing fast traffic to react around them, I think they should be shot. No, not really, not shot. Pistol whipped. Anyway, oh, I'm going to get some comments for that. Don't care. So the SLK, yeah, I would heartily recommend one. I really would. As long as you know someone that can keep on top of the bodywork, I wouldn't worry about the mechanicals. I really wouldn't. And they are a lovely cruise machine. They're great on the motorway. So we go up Scotland and stuff like that. They're awesome on the motorway. Just click in the old cruise control, just relax. But I use cruise control everywhere. I use it on normal roads as well. Lazy. But it's sort of a more grown-up convertible, even though it was made for a more youthful market. It's a bit more grown-up than an MX-5. The fit and finish is certainly better. I've got 2 cup holders, which were a no-cost option when you were speccing the car. And usually, most of them have a big coin tray there, which this one did. But I found a very, very rare cup holder on eBay and paid what is essentially a bit of plastic, quite a lot of money, but worth every penny. The other thing, it's got decent enough sized door pockets. There's little net pockets on the transmission tunnel. There's a little cubby hole under your elbow, which this, fully enough, had a period CD storage unit, because it had the Merc CD radio. I've since put in a Bluetooth radio. But it's just a nice place to be. It's that simple. You know, it doesn't have to set rubber on fire. In fact, some of the most charming cars I've ever driven have not had big engines, but they've had bags of character, and this does have character. We called him Slinky because he's an SLK, so we've got a little Slinky in the window as well because we're sad. But it's just a really nice car to get in, especially if you've been wafting around in something a bit big and heavy. I mean, these are surprisingly sprightly, and they will all pretty much spin the wheels away from junctions. Their traction control is quite rudimentary, and coming out of junctions, roundabouts and stuff like that, even on the merest hint of throttle, you will be spinning up just for a moment. But that's the way it is. You know, I can put up with that. It's not too bad in the winter. I have driven it through a couple of winters, but there does get a point where you're going to have to start putting bags of sand or something in the boot, because they get no traction at the back. There is a winter mode on the gearbox, which basically means it starts off in second and it shifts up early. It reduces the torque and it shifts up early, and that works pretty well. And it works pretty well if you're, for instance, someone else is driving the car and they're not used to this type of car, being front engine rear wheel drive. gratuitous top-down motoring, as is me want. And why not? And I'm going a different way home today. I'm going through the lanes. The other day it was looking decidedly stormy, so we didn't get the roof down, but now I'm on the way home after a shift and it's lovely, so why not? It's a little bit of buffeting with the windows down, but if I put them on, matters somewhat. I can feel the temperature difference already. After all, we don't want this fantastic hairstyle getting ruffled. Oh, seems like we've got a classic FM on. We better stop that. This is nice. This is what it's made for, and it's a good excuse to show you how the roof works, or what you see from the inside. Interestingly, the roof switch looks an odd shape. It's like a transparent red thing. Looks a bit like a beak, and it's got a white dot on it so you can find it and all that lot. But it's actually a model of the SLK's roof. And I'll put a picture up. I'm not going to video mine because it's surrounded by crumbs. But this is what it's really good at too. The car actually feels no different with the roof down as it does with the roof up. Now my roof's squeaking and creaking at the moment because I've got to treat the seals, and what they recommend, Mercedes recommend you treat it with, is a product called, prepare for mispronunciation, gummy fleege, and it's made by Sonax, and it's for rubber seals on the roof, and basically it just it puts a coat of silicone on them. Now I've tried silicone spray and that doesn't last very long at all on the roof. Door seals and stuff, that's great for, but the roof, it seems to do really well on this gummy fleege, and it comes in like almost like a shoe polish sort of description, you know, like the Kiwi shoe polish with the built-in sponge. It's like that sort of applicator. And then you just put a bit on, use the sponge across the seals, and I do all of them round the car. Oh, nice little Nissan Figaro there. I like a Figaro. And then you have to leave it to dry. It only takes about 10 minutes. And then that stops most squeaks and rattles. It's not really a noisy roof, a squeaky, rattly roof. If you do get a rattle, it's usually a little rubber buffer that's come off in the boot, and it's what the parcel shelf sits on. Well, you can't really call it a parcel shelf, can't really use it, but that can cause squeaks from the back, and it's a little wedge that slides onto the panel in the back, and then I think the parcel shelf actually sits on it, so it's like it's rubber buffers, and they're very easy to dislodge, especially when you're packing the car or unpacking the car, but sometimes they just wriggle out on their own. So I'm probably going to silicone them in so it doesn't do it again. What a road to be bringing a humongous caravan down. But yeah, other than that, it's a pretty quiet roof. It's weatherproof. You get the odd little drop at the front, just the odd one. Although, as soon as you've lubricated the seals and stuff, it tends to stop. But the seals on it are fairly complicated. They look a lot more complicated. I'll put my teeth in a minute. Than the ones on the old MX-5 that I can remember, and certainly more complicated than the ones on the MG. But both the MX-5 and the MG, if it ran, you always got like a drip from the front of the roof at the corner. You always got it. Didn't matter how you tensioned the roof or adjusted the roof, it was always there. Never excessive. And you know, I mean, compared to how convertible roofs used to be, you know, it's like the Sahara Desert compared to those. But you see I've got the window breaker up as well. I tend to leave that up. It does a really good job. But it's not a flip up and down one like it is in the MG, which is so easy to use. This actually fits by it press studs, and then it uses like elastic tension to slip over the headrests, the mounts, the loops, whatever you want to call them. So once it's up, it's up. I don't tend to drive with it a lot, with it down, because it does rattle your bumps about a bit when it's down. But then again, so did the MG, so did the MX-5. I mean, round town and stuff like that, it's not a problem, it's not an issue at all. But if you're going above 50 regularly and what have you, it's a different story. You get I wouldn't do it on a motorway. You get fed up with it because it creates a resonance as well. But other than that, it's very civilised when the roof's down. It's really nice. And I say, I've got 1 million miles of headroom. But it's not that much different to having the roof up when the windows are up as well. This is Sutton Cheney, very nice area. Some nice houses along here. And of course, we're not too far from Bosworth Battlefield. So yeah, it's a nice experience. I mean, it's a nice experience. It's one of those. It's a Jekyll and Hyde car, really. I mean, you can go bonkers with them, and you know, all that lot, because they'll handle it. It's not what it's about. This is what it's about to me. It's bimbling through a village at 30 miles an hour, top down, enjoy myself. I can see the scenery, I can smell the scenery, I can hear the birds. I've got 1 million miles of headroom, and that's another thing that I don't suffer with in the SLK. Both seats either side are height adjustable, and it's quite generous, as well as being, you know, forward and back, and the backrest. So you call it, I don't know, 6-way, I suppose. And it's unusual, because I can't remember the NX seats being height adjustable. I may be wrong, but they were all manual. This is all electric. Some models did have manual seats. The MG was definitely manual, and that had no seat adjustment, height adjustment, sorry. In fact, some people said that the seats in those felt too high. I never thought they were. I thought they were perfect. And a lot of people, I think somebody used to make a spacer kit that just used to lower the seat, and I never felt it needed it. I mean, this with the seat raised up high feels really weird. It doesn't feel good. If I'm in a sports car, I like to sit low in it, and I like the transmission tunnel to be against my leg. I like to be able to rest my elbow on the side. So to raise the seat's a bit of a, I don't know, some people have to, obviously. One thing this car is not great for, I'm only 5'8", is leg room, if I'm honest. If I get my seat just sort of perfect, I actually find I'm adjusting it all the while afterwards, because I always set it too far back first, and the throttle pedal on these, you need to press it down a fair bit to really get going. It's got like a long travel pedal. But the steering wheel, that's got fore and aft adjustment, which the first one never did, and that works. There's enough adjustability in that. I mean, Cat's got short legs, but you know, she gets on with this fine because the steering wheel adjusts enough and the seat adjusts enough. In fact, if she like most cars, if she sets the seat for her, I can't even get in the car. But you know, it's just how it is. But you know, it's easy enough to put back. We're now turning for Kirby Mallory, of course famous for Mallory Park. Also famous for, quite recently, some moron buying a house there and then putting in noise complaints because he lived next to a racetrack. Why would they do that? Why would they buy a house knowing there's a racetrack next to it, pretty much, and they don't like noise? And that basically caused the old Mallory Park to close down. Certainly put the kibosh on a lot of events that were booked for that year. And you know, I think some people just do it deliberately, to be honest. But it's these people, like, they buy houses near airports and then put noise complaints in. What do they expect? I mean, where I live, I'm a few miles from Mallory, but when there's a practice on or anything like that, you know, we hear it, and we get traffic through our village that goes to Mallory, and it doesn't bother me. I like it because I know where they're going. I know they're going to enjoy themselves. They're having a bit of harmless fun, but of course some NIMBY wants to ruin it for everybody. I don't get it at all. Really don't get it. But it's like people that buy track day special cars, special edition cars. You know, they buy super lightweight Caterhams, and they buy GT3, GT4 Porsches, and they're never ever going to see a track. Never, for the most part. But they just want the hardcore version of the car. Just say, look at me, I'm a racer. I don't get that. I don't get that at all. I don't get why people need the RR version of motorbikes when all they're going to do is just whack round like a moron, showing off on the road, giving everybody a bad name, and never taking it on a track day where it belongs. You know, I mean, I've been on track days like Darley Moor, places like that, and just the breadth of machinery that's there, especially if it's a practice. And same with Mallory, it's astonishing. You know, you've got people turning up on literally the latest like hyperbikes and all this lot that you've only ever seen in a magazine. You don't even see them in a dealer, and yet next to it you know, you got some bloke with a 30-year-old RS125 or something like that, and they're mixing quite happily. It's yeah, it's quite entertaining, but you know, each to their own, as long as they're happy. I mean, personally, when Mrs. Shed gives it the go-ahead, when we go back up to the mansion in Scotland, I mean, I've got a GT40 continuation I've got my eye on, but she's imposed this one in, one out policy for the hangar. So I've got to decide what's got to go, you know. Yeah, I wish. But I like, I'm very lucky to live in this part of the world, really, because we're quite rural. But we've got half decent facilities, you know, we're not that far from really good facilities. But it's like we've got Mallory Park on the doorstep, Donington Park just up the road. You know, we're not, travel-wise, because we're in the Midlands, we're not that far from most racetracks, really. You know, nowhere's too far. Hey, up here's a lad. Go on, go for it. Oh, yeah. we're not too far from anywhere in this country really. And if you think compared to how big America is, or even France, you can get to most parts in this country well within an easy travelled day, and that's sort of what I like about it. There is one thing about these rural roads as well. We tend to get a lot more cyclists than what we used to. I tend to notice that. I'm seeing a lot more. And a lot of the places, obviously, we like riding motorcycles, they like riding push bikes. And I'm still going to call it a push bike, because it is a push bike. I don't care whether it's a Chris Boardman XYZ, this cost £5,000, which is pretty stupid for a push bike, to be honest. I don't know, you might like that, I don't. I can't see the point in spending £5,000 on something that you've got to power yourself. I'd sooner spend it on a motorbike or a car, because that's just the way I'm wired up. I can sort of understand why people get into the carbon fibre frames and the you know, stuff like that, but at the end of the day, it's just a push bike. So, you know, nice little dog-in lay-by there. So we've just come out through Kirby Mallory. We're now coming into a place called El Shilton, or as it's known locally, Moss Isley. And if you get that reference, well done, because this is a cut through on the way back home, basically. Oh, we're still waiting on the Compton tensioner. I got the email to say they got their order in and all that lot. Thanks for buying it. Subscribe to their newsletter and stuff like that. And then I've heard nothing more, but and they were allegedly, get on your side of the road then, you bell end, the most hideous looking transit lobster bat you've ever seen in your life. But heard nothing more, and somebody I know ordered one actually just before me, and theirs hasn't turned up yet, and they've not heard anything. So, but there was a warning when we ordered them that the US postal system is basically kerfuffed, and it could take 9 weeks. Okay, you know, that's a time scale I can live with. It's not like we've lost all the good days or anything like that. But conversely, until I've got that back in and the bike's working again, I don't really want to do anything else to it. And I can't really hoof it about, because where I need to move it, ideally I need it running to get back into, because there's a slope and I'm fat and I'm old. So I'm probably going to knock that on the head until that's come. I mean, the other the tensioner's ready to accept the new part. That would just be a case of fitting it, which I will do a video. I shall fit the part to the tensioner. Obviously I'm going to cover that in a video, because there is definitely a specific way that you need to fit it, because it has a little groove for one of the spring arms to go down into and stuff like that, and you have to make sure you've done it. And we'll just do that. So in the meantime, that really was the introduction to Slinky. Now you all know what an SLK looks like on the outside, but I'll put a couple of little photos up. But if you don't know what an SLK looks like by now, you've got no hope. So I'll do that. I'll just put a couple of photos up, and we can say, I think, ta-ra on this video. I might just film putting the roof back up though. Not that you're going to see. You're not going to see a lot. It's pointless. Just go on YouTube and look for SLK roof. You'll see how it works. It takes about 25-27 seconds to actually articulate fully, from like first press to it locked down or locked up. Sometimes that seems an extraordinarily long time, but you know, the pump's all in good order, the relays are in good order, it's got plenty of oil in the pump, so it's as fit as it will be. And it's a bit of a culture shock when the last convertible I actually drove at work was the Aston Martin Vantage, which is like super special anyway. I've got a big soft spot for Aston Martins. I absolutely adore them. It's one of those feel-good cars that, even back from the DB9, because I've been testing them from the DB9 onwards, it's one of those cars you just sit in and it's just right. It's special and it's just right. And there's very few cars that can do that. Bentleys do it. They just feel spot on. But the roof on this Aston Martin went up or down. That's from first initiation to locked, whether up or down, 7 seconds, which is just amazing. And it's so easy, and you don't lose any boot space with that or anything, because you know it's like a traditional type of roof. Got a lovely little panel, lifts up at the back, up comes the roof, and it's locked before you can even think about it. It's absolutely brilliant. But then again, I just like power rods anyway. I don't care how long they take. Oh, did you get the wrong turn in then? Come on then, there was nothing coming. Always be wary of a National Trust sticker in the back of a car, because this one's just rolled back 3 feet. My dad always used to say, you ever see a trilby in the back of a car, keep your distance, because it would be some doddering old gimmer. And you know what, 9 times out of 10 he was dead right. And you always used to, I mean, it was always big Jags. Old men always used to drive big Jags, and they were more hungry than a great white that had come over a bit peckish, as Jeremy Clarkson put it once. And I think that's spot on. But it's, you know, then they went to Rover, and then it was for bikers it's always been Volvo. In fact, at one of the bike rallies every year many years ago, it was the BMF rally, which sadly I don't think no longer exists. They used to have a Smash a Volvo competition, because my cousin, he won it one year, and he got a trophy with a smashed up die-cast Volvo on it. I always remember that. But it doesn't seem to be Volvos anymore. I don't know what the oldies have got into. This is lovely, isn't it? Absolutely lovely. In the leafy lanes of Leicestershire. It's blooming marvellous. I'll tell you what, the temperature's gone up 2 degrees as well from leaving work, because we're quite high up at work, it being an old airfield. And then, I mean, we're not exactly low here, but I don't think we're as high as work. So yeah, oh, it's just gone down 1 degree. Oh gee, I'm under the shade of some trees now. I mean, one of the best adventures I ever had in a convertible, I took my mum up to Scotland, and it would be about 11 years ago at least, and I had the MG. Sure, it was about that long. It would definitely be that long. We had the roof down most of the time, apart from going up on the motorway, because I didn't know the A1 A68 route that we take now, which is awesome. You just have not got the monotony of the M6. So we went up there, roof up, spent every day roof down up there, and then we were coming back, and we come back via Loch Lomond. And if anybody knows the ring road at Glasgow, it actually goes through Glasgow, and it started absolutely tipping it down. Let's just put the roof up. Now you can be in gear as long as you hold the foot pedal, it's alright. But we were going through the middle of Glasgow in the ring road, and it was absolutely teaming it down, but we never got wet. We never got a drop on us. But as long as you were above about 40 miles an hour, it was fine. And of course, we've got all these like lorry drivers looking at us gone out. and we didn't actually stop. I don't think we stopped till somewhere like Cairn Lodge, which is, you know, it's a distance from Glasgow, so you can hear the roof creak just a little bit there because the seals want lubing. And it was it's one of the best drives I've ever had. And we've since repeated it in Slinky and all that lot, but we've had the roof up. In fact, the last time we came back that way, they'd actually done an overnight diversion, which actually took you into Glasgow, and they gave you a diversion sign that led you into Glasgow, and then nothing at all. So it's like 3 o'clock in the morning, because we left at midnight, because you get home by about 8 o'clock because there's nothing on the road. We're in the middle of Glasgow at like 3 in the morning, bursting for a wee, and I actually had to give up. I pulled under a railway bridge and had to relieve oneself in a gentlemanly fashion, and it was like, why put a diversion up and then not sign it? Oh dear, but never mind, eh? All these things make for good memories. So right, I'm back home now. So it's time to say goodbye. Look after yourselves. I'll see you next time. Ta-da.